Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Say Hola podcast. You are in for a treat because we have stories to share on this special series that we are creating for this month. And today I have Viridiana. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hola, contenta to be here.
I love it. So let's start by introducing or sharing with the audience how did we meet? Because that's always so important to share.
Yeah, so we're both Latina business coaches who are so passionate about supporting other Latinas. And so we connected online. And I've been following you for a couple of years and I love what you're doing, right? The mission to help more Latinas make more money and same. And I do that through helping my clients out with things like financial literacy, projections, accessing capital, but I'm also focused on, helping Latina business owners grow their business.
And I love that. And brings me to my next point because sometimes when we're thinking about any idea to launch a business, sometimes we think, oh, pero ella ya lo está haciendo. Like she's already doing that. And you and I have exchanged a lot of information online where you're doing something and I'm sharing what I'm doing, or you're liking my post, or I'm liking your post, or you're celebrating something and I'm celebrating with you. So I wanted to bring you to the podcast to talk about how you launch your business, but also to show other mujeres and other jefas why it's so important to really unite and collaborate versus believing that, oh, ella lo está haciendo. So let's start with the beginning. What is your background and how can you walk us through your trajectory on when or why you started your business?
Absolutely. We're going to take it back all the way to Mexico. So I am originally from Mexico and my family and I immigrated here when I was 3 years old. So a really long time ago. And my family had here in the US had a business. And so I grew up in this small business household, seeing all the ups and downs of what it meant running your own business, like seeing my dad work a lot and my mom and I would help my dad with the finance things, right? Surprise, surprise that I love numbers. But desde que estaba chiquita, I would answer the phone, take messages, work on his invoices. And at a really young age, I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. And I just, me encantaban los números siempre. And so it was really growing up in this small business household that I was like, okay, it gave me that belief that I could also do something for myself. And it was also the fact that my mom todos los días cocinaba. And so that was also such a beautiful way for us to stay really connected to our culture. And it always felt like a celebration. And so I grew up around really good food, her showing us love through food. And so now I'm like, yeah, it's no wonder that now I work with Latinas in the food industry who show their love through food. So it was like seeing my mama, seeing my papa, and then putting those together. But should we get, you want more detail?
No,
Because I
I
could
love
still
this.
go
I
into
love
the
this. And
detail.
funny story or side note of what you're saying. Before I came to the studio to record with you, I texted my mom and I was like, Mom, when are you gonna make chicken mole? Because I need it. And that is actually one of my favorite dishes that my mom makes really good, and she makes it from scratch. And I need that. I need food because I don't cook every day. I don't enjoy cooking. I will say that. And I think I said it before, but I do like to eat good food. And I also don't like to deprive myself when it comes to Mexican food or Latino dishes because sometimes we hear these, ay, no te comas las tortas o los tacos porque vas a engordar. And I'm like, I don't care. I will eat it and then I will go on a run or a hike or whatever I need to do. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you mentioned something so important and that it really touched me. You talk about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. Looking back at your parents' trajectory, why do you think they have downs? Good. I hope that you are feeling inspired by today's episode. And I want to extend an invitation to join Jefas and Wealth Mastermind. We want you to be part of this community that is going to help you launch your business, your idea, your personal brand, and yes, even go after your real estate empire if that is something that you want to do. Let me share with you some of the projects or businesses that past clients have launched. financial coaching, a decluttering your home offer. And we have many mujeres who have launched a podcast or a personal brand. And my favorite is having clients go after their speaking consulting business because they understand the importance of representation to inspire the next generation. Así que te espero in Say Jefas and Wealth. Apply today using the link below. I know we know that is normal because now we have businesses, but is there anything that they were doing that now you as a business owner think, man, if they had access to this one tool, that would have changed the game for them back then?
Yeah, I think it for me, I really saw it like in the finance part. So I would see like even at a really young age, since my mom and I would write out the invoices, I knew that it was like my dad was charging like too little. And I would know that because I would see commercials of what other people were charging for similar jobs. And I remember how much like when I would talk to his clients, how much people loved and appreciated him. And so I was like, why isn't he charging this much? And so it was that in combination with how much he was working and then that money wouldn't be coming in. And I'm like, wait a minute, como que like he's working so hard all the time, but the money's not coming in. And that was because there was no financial management system and there wasn't consistency. There wasn't this someone who had told him like how to correctly price things out. So then you're not working super long hours because with one job, that you charge correctly or properly, like that could have covered your whole day. And so I think that was one of the biggest downs that I saw, that it was like que el dinero no entraba, even though it was like work, but
Yes.
then the money wouldn't come in.
Where's
And
the cash flow?
girl, yes, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And so I saw that at a really young age. And I'm like, I really think that's something that siempre se me quedó, like pegado, where I was like, no, there has to be a better
Yeah.
way of how to do this. And
And there
that is
is.
something.
There is always a better way. Now, te quiero preguntar
Mhm.
otra cosa que se me vino a la mente. We're doing this in Spanglish,
Dime.
which I love. So, did you walk? Did you walk? Wow, we're gonna edit this part. But did you work in corporate at all, or did you just jump into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I started right out of college. I started out in a corporate auditing firm. It was a global auditing firm, like it was considered one of the big four. And for me, like going from college to a big job, like it was a big important thing and milestone in my life. And I was like, I made it. Right. Like I had this job lined up even before I graduated. I felt like super important. I'm like, I made it from college to corporate, but it wasn't for me. And I worked as an auditor for a couple of years actually before I did go into actually nonprofits and then into entrepreneurship. So yeah, my path to entrepreneurship was not a right away thing. I
Yes,
felt
but I
almost
feel like
like
when you're meant to be, you're meant when it's for you. And sometimes people fight that because they have the call, they see the need, they know they can do it, pero están obsesionadas con el trabajo corporativo. They're like, how am I going to leave this status or my title or my 401k or my insurance? That's because we don't know that there's something different. And I'm also speaking from experience because that was also me. So, when did you officially start your business?
I started 11 years ago. And it's so interesting that you're saying, like, we know, because deep down inside, like, I knew I wanted to start a business to help people like my family. How? I didn't know. But I knew this while I was working in corporate, because when I took a really good look at myself and really listened to myself, that was the response that I gave. Entonces, we know deep down, like deep down inside, but it was I was fighting it. Like you said, I was fighting it. And then because I wasn't sure how I was going to start my own business or what I was even going to do, I went to a smaller corporate firm because I thought maybe that was the answer. It was not. I went into like nonprofit. And then that obviously wasn't the answer. And the company, the nonprofit I was working for, actually went bankrupt. Entonces, I'm like, that's when in 2014. And I was like, a ver, you tried the corporate thing, didn't work. You tried the nonprofit thing, it didn't work. What's next? I'm like, go back to what I wanted to do. And I went back to that lo que me había preguntado, and it was help people like your family. And so after that, when that nonprofit went bankrupt, I was like, this is the time. Like, I don't have any other, this is the path. Y como dijiste, lo que es para ti es para ti. And I'm like, this is what's next. This is what I need to try next. And so 11 years ago, 2014, I was like, I'm going to write my business plan, a short one, but I wrote it and I was like, and I'm going to do it. September of 2014 is when VP Consulting became a reality.
Yeah, and if the non for profit wouldn't gone bankrupt, we've never had an opportunity to record this podcast. So I always say that we are meant to do things that in our childhood maybe seem risky, like entrepreneurship was super risky for our parents. That's why nos empujaron to like go to college, do all these things. My mother also has a background in entrepreneurship, by the way. Like my mom had so many businesses, and I remember thinking like, ¿cómo le hace? But also the lack of financial literacy is what kept her working super hard for money and in her jobs and her businesses. And then at the end of the day, she's no, I actually it's not working out for me. So I'm gonna go back to a 9 to 5. And her health became awful and all of these things. And now when I have conversations with her about the businesses that we have, she's always, wow, like I see you in me, but I see you stronger because you have the financial literacy in the community and the healing
Mhm.
too that comes with you becoming an entrepreneur. So I feel like we have to do a lot of healing as well. Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned something that at the beginning of the podcast that was super powerful, and that was you help people access capital. A lot of small businesses don't even know that there are organizations, certifications, grants, VC funding, all of these things. So can you walk us through like how do you do it? How do you become aware the money is, and how do you support your clients through that?
Yeah, I love doing that, right? That's something that's so powerful, especially because I work with a lot of immigrant families as well. And sometimes there's so many challenges that comes with that like immigration status. And it's also possible for people that don't have a resident or a citizenship status. So it's completely possible. And I love it because I'm helping people, and mostly mujeres, right, make their dreams into a reality. And there is money out there if you're prepared and if you know how to manage it and if you know how you're going to use that money to grow. So I work with, I'm going to give a shout out to CDFIs because I love working with community development financial institutions. And that, for those who don't know, they're basically like, they're also called micro lenders and they're alternatives to banks. And they typically are funding people who can't access traditional loans like from a bank or maybe a VC. And these CDFIs are all over the US. So, a really great way on how to find them, go to Google, type in CDFI plus your city or plus your county, and that's going to come up. That'll generate a list of local micro lenders. And so I feel like that's such a great way to access, to get a list of these lenders. And then also I would go to the economic development page for either your city or your county, because a lot of times there's monies that are available to people who have registered businesses in that city or county. And sometimes, like I've had clients who have accessed 0% loans or who have accessed like $40,000 grants to open up like their storefronts. There's money out there. You
Yes.
have to be prepared for that money though.
Yes, there is. And I think that receiving money or even applying for money also comes with a mindset, right?
For
Now,
sure.
Viri, you're teaching this to your clients, and I love good chisme. So, have you applied for any of the money? And if so, have you received any money
Like myself or my clients.
for yourself, for your firm?
It's so interesting you say that because during the pandemic, I'm like helping people access like the grants and programs, like loan programs that businesses had. And then I had this like little epiphany. I was like, wait a minute, like you can also access some money and then think about how you can grow your own business. So in during the pandemic, I did apply to one of the government programs, and that made also for me like a mindset, because everything that I was teaching my clients of think about how we could use capital to grow, think about what's the best return on investment. And it helped me as well, where I was like, wait a minute. It made me ask myself, like, where do I need to invest money? And then, so yeah, I ended up applying and
I
I
love
ended
it.
up using it, yeah, to update some of my systems, to get access like coaching as well. But before I applied, you better believe that I made a budget, and then I went through the process of asking myself, like, if I take out this money, how is investing in X thing going to help me out before I even applied?
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the reason why I ask you this is because sometimes we see, for example, a business coach that doesn't have a business, or an investing coach that doesn't have any investment accounts. And in your case, I wanted to showcase how you are walking the talk. Is that how you say that? Right? Like we're doing the work. Algo
Yes.
parecido.
Yeah.
We're doing the work because we believe in the work that we're doing. Now, you are a mom, like I am. How many kids do you have, and how do you manage your time between your family and your business?
Yeah, so I'm the mom of this like really amazing, intelligent, witty 1 year old, Sophia. And she's my only baby and the only one. And so how do I manage my time? Yes, yes. Yeah, she's amazing. So I, before having Sophia, I was like, I love working. I love my business. I would never stay home. Like, I will never be a stay at home mom. And I was just thinking, so focused on my business. But once you have that little child in your belly and then in your hands, you're like, forget everything else. Like you forget about it. However, my business is still super, really important. So I made the conscious like decision that I wasn't going to work full time anymore. And so what I do is that I work part time, but with the goal of I'm going to make the same amount of money I was
Yeah.
making when I was working full time. And so it's been deciding that 20 to 25 hours on a weekly basis. And I feel because I have so much more limited time, it makes me be more intentional about what I'm doing. It helps me say yes to the right opportunities and no to things that are not aligned with what I'm doing, so that I can spend like all afternoon and evening with my daughter, so I could spend the weekends with her, because I just love like dancing and taking her out to eat, because she's also a foodie at her young 1 year old of age. Like, ya conoce un montón de comidas.
I love
And I love doing that, right? Like, I love that I'm still able to do what brings me so much joy, which is work with our community, work with other Latinas and other Latina moms. And it's helped me becoming a mom has also helped me understand my clients so much better, because I work mostly con mujeres que son mamás or have a family business. And it helps me like relate to them even more.
Yes. And I love that you talked about the intentionality of working part time job, a full time income. And a lot of us were not taught that was a possibility, but you and I are proof that, hey, it's happening. And I'm the same way. I work 25 hours a week. I don't work Fridays. No, thank you. Fridays are for my massages, go hiking with my husband, go on dates with my husband. So that relationship for me is super important. But I also quote unquote open my business when my girls are in la escuela. So they go to school by 7:30. So 7:30 to 4, I'm working. And I have a specific days where I'm coaching, a specific days when I'm doing sales, a specific days when I'm doing client work, specific days when I'm pushing myself for speaking engagements and all of that. So how do you eventually realize that you don't want to work full time? You just say about your daughter, but that is a mindset because we are conditioned to work super hard. How long did it took you for you to realize, wait a minute, I don't need to work 40 hours, or in some cases, for some mujeres, 60 hours a week?
Yeah, I think that it actually started happening before I did have Sophia, and knowing that I wanted to be like have impact, but I didn't want to be working every single day, even though when we have our own business, like we're going to do what we're going to do, right? Like I still there are some nights where I'm like after Sophia goes to bed, like I'm there reviewing or editing a presentation that I'm going to give for the following day. So it does happen. But I think that it started before where I was like, no, there has to be a better way. Like I have my own business because I want to have more freedom, right? And I want to generate money. And it also comes, I think, cuando tienes una confianza of knowing like your work has impact and your work has so much
Yes.
value. And so I think that becomes even more noticeable or more apparent after, or at least for me, like after having my baby, where I'm like, yeah, I can't trade my time for something that's not going to be worth it for me because if not, I'd rather be hanging out with my daughter. So it's, I think, yeah, having that like confianza, having that like that realization that your work is like the work that I'm doing is powerful. It does create impact and it should be like I should price it out that way. And if I am pricing it out a better way or properly where it's worth it, then I don't have to be working 80, 100 hours a week.
The difference between a $250 offer versus a $2,500 offer or more.
Yeah.
I love these. I love these. And have you experienced any throughout your business? Have you experienced any price like shock when you're talking to your clients and they're like, wow, pero ¿cómo cobras tanto? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I've had all sorts of experiences. Like, I've had experiences where one time, like, I had someone who started crying because I wish I could afford this work, but I can't. And I value your work, but I can't right now. And I like, obviously it made me really sad, right? Because I don't want to see anyone crying. And at that moment I was working with an organization where I could provide like a free hour of work of consultations. And so I did end up offering her that 1 hour, but then later she did end up hiring me, right? Like she did end up working and working it into her budget. And so, yeah, that was like I've had people have that sticker shock, but I think when you're able to explain and show them how investing, because it is an investment,
Yes.
right? Like they're not getting 1 hour, they're getting the fact that I went to one of the best universities of the world, that I studied in one of the best business schools, that I did corporate, that I've seen these issues or problems over and over, and I know how to solve it
Yeah.
quicker. And so I think that as a consultant or as a business owner, that's my job, that I need to communicate what that value is. And so I love when people, they're like, yeah, like you just see it in their face. Like when you tell them, they're like, yes. Cause I've had people that have also told me, they're like, oh my God, I thought there was going to be so much more. And sometimes when I have that, I'm like, oh, maybe it's time for me to raise my prices. If
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think knowing the seasonalities of your business really helps you with your pricing because there are times when, yeah, you are in demand, but there are times when, especially summertime, I don't know if your business works this way, but mine does. In the summer, people are like, they want to party, they want to go to the beach, they want to go to the lake, they just want to go. So they're not incentivized to invest in your business at that time because they just want to have fun, and I don't blame them. I want to have fun too. Business owners, we have to create those offers that cover that for when people are not ready to sit down with you for, I don't know how long your programs are, for like 3 months, 6 months, or whatever that is. And I always feel like we are always going to be students of our business too, because sometimes you have this amazing idea and it doesn't work, or no pega, right? So how does Viri overcome that mindset when something doesn't go the right way?
Oh, that's a really great question. Okay. So for me, it really is about the budget, right? And working my numbers and planning it. So if something doesn't go the right way, first of all, in my projections, like I always do like more conservative projections so that I'm not just like banking on one specific offer. And so if something doesn't work out, then it means that my bank account isn't taking a huge hit. It might hurt my ego a little bit, of course, because we pour so much into it. But I think one thing is that I'm like, that's the market telling you that's not what they need. También. So it's being able to, I think for me, I'm like, I'm stepping back and I'm like, okay, is am I not offering something to the right person, or how can I go back and make a tweak to it, make an adjustment to it? And it's sometimes like it comes down to maybe I'm not marketing it the right way, because I know that when I'm offering something, it's based on what I've seen works. And so a lot of times it is about, okay, let's change the offer or let's change the audience that I'm offering it to. Because sometimes puede ser eso también, that we're not sharing the offer with the right group. And so I do think about, okay, let's make an adjustment. And also knowing that I know how to make money, and not everything también, right? Not everything va pegar, but I know that what I'm doing is valuable and it's helpful. So it's like, I feel like we can't dwell on things that long either. Algo bien, like we gotta go. Like we gotta continue. We have 25 hours. Like we gotta go.
I love it. Now, you've been in business for a while now. If I recall correctly, you said 2011. Have you
2014.
2014? Thank you for correcting me. Have you hit multiple six figures in your business?
Yes, I
I
have.
love that. I
Yes.
love that. I love that so much for you. Have you hit a seven figure business yet?
I have not hit seven figures yet.
Okay, yes. And I want to say that. And I wanted to ask you about this just to normalize the conversation around money. Of course, you're passionate about money. I'm passionate about money. And that comes with financial literacy, right? Viri, this has been an honor to have you here for this special series that we're dropping here on the podcast. Where can people find you and how can they connect with you?
Yes. So you can find me on either Instagram or LinkedIn under VP Consulting SF. And then also my website, which is vpconsultingsf.com.
Thank you so much for coming to the show. Y felicidades. And let's go ahead and keep growing and keep building generational wealth through entrepreneurship.
Vamos. Gracias, Lucy.